Hello, I am Sentient. This video is a beginner's guide to Deadlock. Now, Deadlock is a MOBA. MOBA, third-person hero shooter. MOBA means multiplayer online battle arena. And those are games like League of Legends or Dota. Now, this video is intended for people who have never played a MOBA before, but would still understand shooter game concepts like having health bars, your crosshair, and shooting enemies deals damage. Now, the most basic way to understand a MOBA is the more you play, basically, you will earn money, which in Deadlock is called souls. And you use those souls to make yourself stronger. Either you do more damage or you gain more health. If you liked this video, or if you found it informative or helpful in any way, what I can do is I can post the gameplay you're seeing right now as a full video. I recorded the entire match. And I can provide commentary on my own gameplay, which may help you understand what to do or what not to do in your own games. What plays to make and what plays not to make. This is the Hideout. This is where you will spawn in when you first play the game. You'll spawn in as Abrams here, but you can change your hero freely at any time by simply pressing escape and going to swap hero. But this will only change the hero you are while you're in the hideout. When you get into a match, you may not get the hero you pick here. Let's actually explore the hideout now. In front of us, this is where you play the game. There is the main game mode of Deadlock. There's also Street Brawl, which is just faster paced 4v4 battle. This is more lighthearted and fun, whereas the main game mode is much more serious and competitive. There's also sandbox mode, bot matches, Explorer New York City. This is also similar to sandbox mode. It's just an empty map, and you can make your own custom matches here as well. Over here, we have learn how to play tutorials. I think it shows up with more than this one, but I've done the other ones. I'm not too sure. Over here, you can spectate live matches if you fancy that, and maybe criticize some people. And last thing worth showing is over here is the practice range. Now this is for quick testing. Deadlock does have a dedicated sandbox area, which I will be showing shortly. But if you want to test something quickly while you're queued up for a match, you can go in here and try things out, use your abilities, do all kinds of stuff. To show you how things actually work in Deadlock, we will be going into the sandbox game mode. And the first thing I want to talk about is our hero's abilities. The first three abilities that every hero has are uniform, like they're all kind of like similar in power level, I guess. The fourth ability will always be your ultimate ability. That is your strongest ability and it has the longest cooldown. The other ones can have various effects, you know, either they just do damage, or maybe they are movement abilities that help you traverse the map, or maybe they're healing abilities, right? These come in all kinds of flavors, but your fourth ability will always be your ultimate. The next thing we should talk about is your hero's statistics, which I'll be shortening to stats for the rest of the video. We can view those in the bottom left here. We have our weapon stats, our vitality stats, and our spirit stats. Then the stats we're concerned about for our weapon is the bullet damage, our fire rate, our ammo, our bullet velocity, and our bullet lifesteal. For our vitality, or health stats, we're most interested in our total health, so just max health. Our healing amp, which is short for amplification, that's a bonus to any healing you would receive. Our health regen is important to keep track of, as well as our bullet resist, which is short for resistance, our spirit resist, and our debuff resist. Crit reduction is really only given to heroes who have a big head, because shooting heroes in the head does critical damage, and 7 has a big head, as you can see, so he needs a bit of crit reduction so he doesn't get blown up instantly. And next we will go over our spirit stats. This is where I guess a little bit more, I have to talk a bit more about this. This is anything talking about spirit, or spirit power, or spirit stats is actually talking about our abilities, because all of our abilities, barring a few exceptions, do spirit damage, which is represented with that little purple line going through the heart there. That is a spirit damage indicator. And whenever you see that star symbol, and when it says damage per second on lightning ball here, that purple star, that is talking about our spirit power. Basically, what you can think of is our spirit power is like just the damage our abilities do. It does do more than determine the damage of our abilities, but for now, I'll explain later like what else it can do. But for now, more spirit power means your abilities are gonna be doing more damage. So for example, it's taking our spirit power, multiplying it by 0.5, and then it's adding that new number to the base damage of lightning ball here. So if I increase my spirit power, right? If you look down here in the bottom, I now have 17 spirit power. So if we do over here now, our damage for lightning ball has increased, right? So if we do 17 times 0.5 is 8.5. It's being rounded down. It would be 85. It was rounded up, but it's been rounded down to 84. So yeah, increasing your spirit power increases the damage of your abilities. I'll briefly go over what else it can do. I'll swap heroes to do this. I'm going to go to Haze. So again, if you look directly underneath where it says Smoke Bomb, you'll see the 8 seconds, 8S thing, and that's a whole purple box, and it has a times 0.1 spirit multiplier. And what that means is if we increase our spirit power, the duration of this ability will increase. If we get some spirit power, I'll just get extra spirit again. That increases the duration of Smoke Bomb, right? And as you have a similar effect over here, where the duration of her ultimate is increased with more spirit power. And I will swap back to 7 now. I freed myself from the shackles of the past. I want to also talk about hero archetypes. They come in 3 categories: carries, supports, and hybrids. A carry type hero is mostly self-explanatory if you've played any competitive game, really. If someone's doing really well, people would say they are carrying the game, and that is a whole role in Deadlock. If you pick a carry type hero, you will need to perform really well, like you need to put the work in, but they do tend to be very strong, and a large amount of the heroes in the roster are carry types. The other type of hero is the support role. Supports just enable carries, either through healing, buffing your supports, buffing your carries, sorry, or like debuffing the enemies, right? It just supports tend to make life easier for the carries, but they can still defend themselves just fine. And then the last role is actually his hybrid. It is a mix of both a carry and support, or really they can just do a little bit of both, but not quite as well, right? In addition to that, we need to talk about how some heroes are focused around their weapon. These are called gun-based heroes, where most of the damage and most of their effectiveness is going to be coming from their weapon. And they're also ability-based, or we would say spirit-based heroes, where their effectiveness lies within their abilities. 7 here is a hybrid in that regard, not as in he is a hybrid between a carry and a support role, but he's a hybrid in the sense that you could either increase the effectiveness of his weapon, or the effectiveness of his abilities, or do a little bit of both, and you still get value, you still retain your combat effectiveness. We're going to talk about damage types now. The most obvious one is when you simply shoot someone, you do weapon damage. It's those orange numbers, those 10s and 11s. That's weapon damage. There's also melee damage, which is just an extension of gun damage. There's 2 different types of melee attacks. There's lights and heavies. Increasing your weapon damage will also increase your melee damage. There's also spirit damage, which you remember is done by our abilities. And that's represented by purple numbers. We'll go in a little bit more detail about melee attacks. There's light melees, and there's heavy melees, as I've just demonstrated before. But there's also parrying. This bot here is set up to punch you, and as you can see, he just did a lot of damage with punching me with a heavy. But I can parry him, and this will stun him, and he's unable to do anything at all. He's just stuck there until the stun goes away. So I can attack him freely and do whatever I want. Now I'm parrying his heavy melee attack, but you can also parry light attacks. It's just you have to predict that because the light attacks are unreactable. Heavy melees, on the other hand, are definitely reactable. So don't throw this out just in the middle of a fight, because if you get parried, you will likely die for that. Now we're going to talk about how we move and the ways we move, just everything movement related. And something I forgot to mention before is that under our vitality stats, we have our move speed, sprint speed, and our stamina. That's what we're really concerned about there. When you're just running around and you're not shooting anything, this you're sprinting, which is a little bit faster than when you are doing something. So if I just simply aim down sights, I'm actually moving a little slower. And it's probably a bit easier to see if I start shooting. You can see I do slow down a bit, and then I speed back up. We can actually see, if you look at the left side of my screen here, this is my current move speed, as I'm sprinting, but the moment I start shooting, it goes down. And we'll talk about our stamina next, which is represented by these little bars underneath the crosshair. 7 has 3 stamina. Some heroes will have 2, and some will have 4. There are ways of increasing how much stamina you have. And what we can do with that is we can do dashes, which consumes 1 bar of stamina, right? And then if you look at the stamina bar, when I'm dashing, it will turn blue. If you do a jump while it is blue, you will do a dash jump, which lets you get more distance. We can also slide out of a dash, like so. It gives us a little more distance out of the dash. We can do the same out of a dash jump. Much more distance. You can also just slide down slopes, or if you have enough speed, it does just check how fast you're going. Or if you're on a slope, if you're going down a slope, you can slide. There's also aerial movement. We have a double jump that consumes 1 stamina. Same with the air dash. We can also wall bounce, which if you look here, this is a normal jump, but if we hug the wall, it'll be a different animation. You can see he's bracing against the wall. That means you can do a wall bounce. And the first wall bounce does not consume stamina, but if you chain them together, they will cost half a stamina bar each. And you can chain all this movement together. If I turn fast stamina on, we can do like a dash jump, into a double jump, into an air dash, into a wall bounce, and then another wall bounce, right? But there's a limit to how much you can. You only get 1 double jump. You only get 1 air dash, right? And you wouldn't normally be able to do that because you wouldn't have enough stamina for it. Right, and now for the meat and bones of any MOBA, we're going to talk about items. I'll explain how you get items later, but right now, all you need to know is that items come in the same 3 categories as our stats. If I open up the shop here by pressing B, you'll be presented with a screen that looks a little similar to this. You'll see this big blue tab, right? This is where your builds go, right? This is the build I'm using for 7 right now. You will be given a default Valve build when you first open up the shop. It'll have some items there. You can make your own build. All you have to do is press edit up here. Or when you have the Valve build, it'll say copy and edit, which will make a copy and then you can edit it. But before we do any editing, let's actually just talk about how the 3 different categories of items. We have gun items, or weapon items, whichever you prefer. Buying any of these will just increase the effectiveness of our primary weapon, so our gun damage and stuff. They have various effects. These are vitality items. These will either give us more health or boost the amount of healing we receive. Again, various effects. And the same goes for spirit items. These will all increase the effectiveness of our abilities. Items come really in 3 types outside of the 3 categories. Well, there's the 3 categories, but then there's 3 types, within each category. The most obvious one and the most common one is just a passive item, like something like extra charge here. If I take this, right, I'm immediately benefiting from the effects of this item, right? So I get 1 charge, which now shows up. My lightning bolt, you can see there's 2 bars there now. Might be a bit hard to see, but I can now use this ability twice in a row. All thanks to this item, right? So that's a passive item. Next is an active item, which we'll take Rusted Barrel here as an example. Active items may have some passive effects, like where it says 50 plus 50 bonus health and plus 0.5 sprint speed. However, the main component of a active item is not always working. You have to manually activate that effect to gain its benefit. So Rusted Barrel here will reduce the fire rate and bullet resistance of a enemy hero that I choose to target. So you can see down here in the bottom right, I now have Rusted Barrel as an item. You can hold up to 4 active items. If I press Q to get it ready, it will search for a target in range, right? And then if I press left click, this dummy bot now has reduced fire rate. You can see by that debuff on his gun, right? So that's how actives work. Some actives do, a lot of actives are debuffs, like over here we have like Decay, Disarming Hex, Knockdown, but those are actives that you can use on your allies. Most common one would be something like Rescue Beam. I'll demonstrate this. Same thing, I select it, I get it ready, I'm healing him, and then I can pull him to me, because that's how Rescue Beam works, right? So those are active items. And then the last one is imbued items, right? Or imbued passives. And they are all marked by that purple line with the word imbue on it, right? So if I go to buy this item, right, I'll do it. I get this screen where it says choose an ability to imbue, right? And when you do it, when you make a build, you may get a suggested imbue option, but you don't have to strictly follow this. You can choose any of your 4 abilities, right? For this example, I'm actually going to take Mystic Expansion here. And before I actually do that, I want to demonstrate this. I'm going to use my Static Charge and my Lightning Ball on this dummy, and I want you to see how large the area of effect is. Notice the radius, right, for this ability, and I'll do it for Lightning Ball as well. Again, look at the radius. Okay, now we're going to get Mystic Expansion. So this increases the range of an ability, right? I'm going to put it on Lightning Ball. Okay, so we have this item. And if I turn the no cooldown back on, notice how this radius did not get increased, right? But the radius of Lightning Ball does get increased. This is much bigger, right? So when you imbue an ability with an item, only that ability will be receiving the benefits of that item, right? So, and again, some imbued passives have other associated passives with them. There's also imbue actives, which, well, right now I believe is only this item here, Echo Shard, I can demonstrate how this works very quickly. Let's say I want it on my 2. So then it's an active now, right? But it only works on my 2. And how Echo Shard works, if I use it, there's a big long cooldown. I don't want to wait that long. I'm going to use the Echo Shard. I immediately have the ability ready to use again. So that's item types, really. Now, the next segment is also going to take a while, but it is also a core component of any MOBA, and that's earning money, which, again, in this game is called souls. Souls are those little blue orbs there. Sometimes souls will be orange. If I spawn in an enemy bot, so there I collected some of those souls. If I spawn an enemy bot, like, maybe you'll say right about there. Now, these little guys are called troopers. Sometimes the color will change depending which team you're on. I'm on the orange team, so I have orange troopers, and the enemy team is blue troopers. But the color doesn't really matter that much. Now I need to wait for that guy to die there to show the next part, because it's important this enemy bot is nearby. When you kill a trooper, right, I'll just shoot this guy to death. And that little soul orb will come popping out of him, right? And just simply being near it will give me those souls. I will get money from that. It's not showing in sandbox mode just because of how sandbox works. Sometimes if you're not close enough to where the orb flies out of the trooper, it will just fall on the ground and you'll have to walk nearby to collect it. Now if your troopers die, they will also release a soul. And what you can do is you can shoot these souls to collect them early. This is a concept known as confirming and denying souls. So if I shoot this guy here, you want to shoot the soul because it spends less time in the air, right? Because say that was your guy there, right? That little trooper, and he dies. What can end up happening? I think that enemy boss should be in range, hopefully. No, he's not. I need to spawn another one in. Let's get him right about there. No, he fell through the map. Is he there or not? Okay, he's there. Sweet. See, I can steal. That was not my soul, right? But I can steal it or deny the enemy of getting those souls, right? So when your troopers die, the little orange orb will pop out of them, and you want to watch for that because it's an opportunity for you to steal it. So this is the main way you earn souls, from killing troopers and confirming their souls or denying souls. As you can see here, we have that going on. I'm just gonna remove all the bots now. But there are many other ways to collect souls, and we'll go over now how you can go do that quickly. You'll find boxes like this one. This is one way you earn souls. Some of these boxes will have little souls in. Not always though. It's not always guaranteed to spawn a little soul jar. But if we go over here and just shoot these little soul jars will give you the listed amount of souls. These little statues don't give souls, but they will give you small but permanent buffs. If I pick this up, I now have 35 more bonus health permanently for the rest of the match, and if it was a normal game. Now, let me get another bot in here, because killing enemies does give you souls. Really quickly kill this Infernus. See, it said there, 2.7 thousand souls, right? So, killing enemies gives you a pretty big burst of souls. It is not the most consistent way of getting souls though. I will always be killing troopers. Just get that in your brain. Killing troopers in a lane, which I'll explain what that is later. Killing troopers is the best way to generate souls, at least at the current iteration of the game. Over here, there's two more ways of getting souls. We have this machine here, the Sinner's Sacrifice. You can only damage this with a melee attack. So I'll do it with heavy melees. Now damaging it hurts you. It will do 80 damage every time you attack it. You always want to do a heavy melee attack, because that will you'll shrink those lights down faster, and I'll explain why you want to do that. Once you've hit it with 4 heavy melees, I think, it'll enter this gambling phase. And what you want to do is you want to wait for this light bulb here to turn on, the third to last one. And the moment it turns on, you want to do a heavy melee attack for this to happen. You win the gambling, you gain 4 small permanent buffs, and you gain a considerable amount of souls. Again, it's not as effective as going and killing troopers, but this is always something you should always be looking out for, because it doesn't take too long to do, and it is a good way to supplement your soul income. And then the last notable method, there's one more thing I want to talk about. The last notable method of getting souls is these guys. These are neutral mobs, or just simply called neutrals. Either team can damage and kill these guys. They are passive, so they will not actively attack you, but they will defend themselves. They will shoot back. Killing them gives you souls. Again, it is nowhere near as much as troopers. And I'll explain where these guys show up later, like in an actual match, but you want to be killing them as well whenever you get a chance. Again, it's just all about getting as many souls as you can. The more souls you have, the more powerful you are. The easier it is for you to kill enemies, and the harder it is for them to kill you, at least in general. The last notable exception is there are a couple of items that give you souls or increase the amount of souls you get. This golden goose egg was recently added. Simply holding this will it'll start generating souls, but you can only claim those souls once you use the egg. The other notable one here is Trophy Collector. Once you kill a couple of enemies, you'll gain stacks. So you'll gain, when you kill an enemy, you'll gain a stack of Trophy Collector, right? And it'll give you the following benefits. You get 20 bonus health, sprint speed, ability range, and souls per minute. Every time you kill an enemy, you'll gain a stack of that, and it can keep stacking, right? You can get more of those benefits on top of each other. So that's the last way you can gain souls. And the next thing I want to talk about is Boons, which is basically the current level you're at. It's like leveling up. It's in the bottom left here. Right now I'm Boon level 8, but you always start at level 0. And at the beginning of the match, you will only have one ability to use, not all 4. You don't get all 4 straight away. So you'll have to choose which one you unlock to begin with. But then you can unlock your other 3 abilities once you reach Boon number 1, 4, and 6, or just level 1, 4, and 6. They're just called Boons in Deadlock. Every time you level up or gain a boon, you gain the following stats, at least for 7. These are unique per hero. You may gain different amounts of these stats, or you may gain different stats. Like, for example, I know McGinnis,
Ethics are for scientists.
she will gain spirit resistance when she levels up, when she gains a boon.
So you've called on me.
So yeah, keep track of your level. As you level up as well, I'll demonstrate this. I can't really demonstrate it here, unfortunately. But this is something I forgot to mention earlier about your abilities. Your abilities have levels, or just tiers. They all start at tier 0. But what happens is when you level up, right, you'll gain AP, which is like, I don't actually know what that stands for, but it'll be shown down here at the very bottom where there's like little lightning in the rhombus shape. It'll have a number next to it instead of the infinity symbol. And what you can do, say for example, I only had 3 AP, right, instead of the infinite amount. What I can do is I can click on this, right, and now I've leveled up my lightning bolt. It's probably hard to see, but now there's like a little gray circle around the abilities. That means I've leveled it up once. And now I've used 1 of my AP, so I would have 2 left if I started with 3. And then that means I can spend 2 here to get it to tier 2, right? And if you read those descriptions, it's increasing the power, the effectiveness of this ability, right? And let's just say I'm going around, I'm killing people, I'm getting boxes, right? Whenever you gain souls, this is how you level up, right? So you can see this jar is filling up, right? Because I'm gaining souls. I'm gonna go over here, right? I'm gonna kill these guys, and you can see there, boon received. I get an ability point. That's what they're called. Ability point and power increase. So now I'm at boon 1. It's at this point where I would unlock my next ability in a real match. So you wanna keep track. I'll explain this in a bit more detail later, but you want to keep track of how many souls you have and how many souls that the enemy you're fighting has. If they have a lot more souls than you, even though they may not be a good player, or you think the items they have aren't really working that well for them, they will just have better statistics, right? They will have more weapon damage. They will have more health, just simply because they're a higher boon than you, right? Now I will show you the actual map you'll be playing on when you queue up for a game of Deadlock. We're going to go into the Explore NYC game mode. And this is just an empty map with the same sandbox rules. And the first thing we're going to talk about while we're here is the lanes, of course. There are 3 lanes. There's the yellow lane, the blue lane, and the green lane. I'll be pointing to the mini-map a lot during this as well, in the bottom right. That's very important. Actually, just keep that collapsed. We're going to go down the yellow lane. When you start a match, you will automatically be attached to one of the zip lines, right? You'll be assigned a lane, and you will have a lane partner with you. It'll be another player. There's 2 people per lane, because it's 6v6. And you'll be going down the lane. You'll be going down the zip line, and the zip line will spit you out around here. This is where you start the match. Basically, you start the match in this area, right? This is what it looks like in the yellow lane. Like if we go over to the blue lane, it will look a little different over there. Most of the action happens in the lanes, although the primary objectives are in the lanes. This is what the blue lane looks like, alright? So this is the blue zip line, it ends here. I mean, we'd be fighting here now. This is the middle of the map. And green lane would look a little different as well. The whole map is mirrored, so it is mostly symmetrical. There are very few slight differences on each side of the map, but they're mostly negligible. Let's actually talk about the objectives now in the lanes. This is the first objective here. This is a Guardian. When you first start playing, this is going to be the first thing you want to take out. It is pretty strong. You do not want to you do not want to be getting shot at by that thing. What you want to do is you will have troopers fighting with you. Right now it is empty. I don't know if there's any way for me to actually spawn troopers in, unfortunately. I don't know if there are any console commands. But when you're actually starting a match, there will be troopers here, and they will be fighting each other, and you'll be shooting them to earn souls, right? So basically with the Guardian, right, you want a trooper to walk up, and he'll be getting shot at, right? And then you can shoot at the Guardian while he is shooting at one of your troopers. The troopers take a lot less damage than you do from objectives. But that is the first objective you want to take out. Killing Guardians will give you, and your whole team, I believe, a small amount of souls, a little bounty of souls. We're going to go to our side of the map, so that way I don't get instantly killed by the other enemy objectives. This right here is a walker, and the walkers are probably one of the most important objectives in the game. There are 3 walkers, just as there are 3 guardians. There's 1 in each lane. Now, I want to bring your attention actually to the bottom left of the screen here. You'll notice these gray boxes. These are where your items go. In a normal match, when you start, you can only have 9 items, and the last 3 slots will be locked. You unlock those slots by destroying enemy walkers. So you can have 12 items total after you have destroyed all 3 enemy walkers. But once you destroy a walker, you get a 10th item slot, and then the next walker gives you your 11th item slot, and so on. So you definitely want to focus destroying these on the enemy team and keeping yours alive, because limiting how many items the enemy players can have definitely hampers them. It definitely makes it harder for them to fight back, at least in the long run. Moving on, we have the base guardians. There are 2 per lane. They come in a pair. The purpose of these is to keep enemy troopers from actually entering the base, because the troopers will walk up the lane as far as they can and try and destroy the objectives themselves. You just want to be there to assist them, basically, in destroying objectives. But killing these, again, so with the Guardian and the Walker, killing any objective gives you and your team a small amount of souls. But when you kill these guys specifically, what will happen is, just as we use a zipline, this is how troopers enter the conflict as well. Once they fall off the zipline, though, they stay on the ground, right? But say enemy troopers come in, right, and they're pushing. Our Guardian was destroyed. Our Walker was destroyed, right? Actually, let's just pretend they're friendly troopers, right? And this is the enemy base, right? And now I'm here. I'm destroying these guys, right, with a few of my troopers, right, my little guys. We destroy these. What will end up happening is it will spawn a new trooper wave immediately, right? But they will have a zipline boost, so they will be going down the zipline faster. You also have access to a zipline boost, like so. It's just a buff that lasts for a while, so we travel on the zipline faster. This refreshes every like 4 or 5 minutes, I think. The zipline boost when you use it, and I think it lasts for like maybe 30 seconds, something like that. I don't know. I've never really bothered to know the exact numbers on that. Anyway, we'll move on from these objectives now. When you actually get inside of the enemy base, you'll see the patron, but you cannot damage the patron yet. The patron is invincible right now. So you'll have to come over here to either side of the base, and you'll have to destroy these things. These are shrines. The Hidden King's shrines look a little different from the Archmother's shrines. In fact, each base has just very different theming. But all of these things function the same way. They will just look different. The base guardians, the shrines, the patron. Now, destroying shrines. Say this is the green shrine, basically, right? On the green side of the map. If we destroy this, the troopers in the green lane and the blue lane will be buffed. I believe they just receive more health, and they get a larger hitbox. They just become bigger, right? Only by a small amount, though. And then if we destroyed that shrine over there, which we will have to, because you have to destroy both shrines in order to damage the patron. Once we destroy this one, then the troopers in this lane, our troopers, will be buffed with more health. And now with both shrines down, we can actually attack the patron. The patron is like a 2-phase boss fight. Right now he's in his first phase, but when we just shoot him and take him down to his second phase, he'll have a transition period where he's invincible. But once that is finished, right, you'll be able to shoot him again, but you can only damage him while standing in this pit, right? In his first phase, you can be anywhere outside of the pit and still hurt him, right? But when you're in the second phase, you have to stand in this pit and you have to shoot him. And once you destroy the second phase, your team will win the game. So we're going to be talking about neutral objectives next, and I'll swap the haze because for one of the neutral objectives, we're actually going to have to do a lot of shooting. So, but before we get to that first, the first neutral objective I want to talk about is the soul urn. Now, when I say neutral objective, that basically is referring to objectives that either team can take advantage of, right? Like, our Guardian here is our objective, like we can't damage it, right? But a neutral objective is one that either team can use or damage, right? So I'm going to make my way over to this side of the map because this is where the soul urn is right now. You'll know where the soul urn is because it's just a little blue jar, right? Now, this is what the soul urn looks like. It just contains souls. It will show you how many souls are inside of it right now. The value of souls in it goes up over time. Now, I actually have spawned in an enemy bot here, because right now, you'll notice there's red candles around it. But if we put an enemy bot in, those red candles go away. I'll explain why that's happening right now. The soul urn is usually something people will fight for. Like, I'll show you how it works. The damn thing just keeps respawning. Every 5 minutes, so the soul urn will spawn in at the 10-minute mark. Right, and every 5 minutes after that, so at the 15-minute mark, the 20-minute mark, and so on, it will respawn on the other side of the map, so it just alternates on different sides. But if I actually pick it up this time, I'll show you what we do with it. You have to just stand on top of it, and you'll be picking it up. Now, while you're holding it, you cannot shoot, and you cannot use your abilities. You can move, and you can use your stamina just fine, though. And if I bring your attention to the mini-map in the bottom right, you'll see there's like a little soul urn icon that's kind of glowing now, and it shows that I'm holding the soul urn. If I bring the soul urn to where it shows me on the mini-map, right, which I'll be doing now, just use this vent to go a little faster. So right now, the urn needs to be deposited here, and I'll go ahead and do that. And we get all these souls coming out. And we can shoot these as well, and you definitely want to do that. You can melee souls as well, which is a good way of getting them. Let's just get all that. Normally they would all spawn a bit faster than that, I think, in an actual match. But we have collected the soul urn, right? So, a special mechanic with the soul urn is whether or not it is favored, right? If your team has 10% less or 10% more souls than the enemy team, the urn will be favored or unfavored, respectively. And basically what that means is, hopefully the urn will spawn again soon, so I can actually show it. Hopefully it spawns on this side of the map. Here we go. You see now the urn icon on the mini-map has a little like red arrow on it, right? And that means it's favored to the enemy team. So if I pick it up again, as you can see, if it's favored to the enemy team because it'll have red candles. If it's favored to your team, it'll have green candles. But if I grab it again, you can see now on the mini-map on the bottom right, the location where I have to bring the urn to is different. It's now kind of inside of enemy territory, right? It's on inside their section of the map, their half of the map. And the purpose of this is, since the soul urn gives your whole team souls, whichever team is behind on souls by a fair amount, remember 10% or more, it's made to make this a little easier for them, right? But this doesn't stop me, even though I'm in the enemy's half of the map, this doesn't stop me from going and delivering it here, right? Which, again, I'll just do that. So you can see the solar has spawned once again, and it will show you on the map if it's the red arrow. If it's the red arrow, that means it'll be spawning around here, on their side of the map, right? You always go to the opposite side of the map. If it was favored for us, it would be around here. And if it was neutral, it would be just right there. Oh, forgot the Guardian was there. The next neutral objective we need to be talking about is bridge buffs. These bridge buffs are on a bridge. And they will spawn in at 5 minutes. So when the match starts and 5 minutes have passed, these bridge buffs will spawn. They come in 4 different types. There's the gun buff, there's the casting buff or the spirit buff, there will be the movement buff, and there will be the health buff. All you have to do is walk up to it and heavy melee, and you'll gain some extra effects, right? Like I get extra move speed, I actually gained more stamina. And you can go to the other side of the map and get this. They don't respawn that quickly in a normal match. Once they're destroyed, you have to wait for 5 minutes. They spawn every 5 minutes after the first 5 minutes. So like at 10 minutes, they'll spawn 2 more of them, and then 15 minutes, it's another 2, and so on. So that's the bridge buffs. You definitely want to keep an eye on them. Whatever the type of bridge buff is, you want to keep an eye on as well. Like right now, Haze does a lot of her damage with her guns, right? So if I got the spirit buff, that's not going to really do a whole lot for me, right? So maybe I want to leave it for a teammate, right? Or maybe I still want to come here and prevent enemies from getting it. Since this is a neutral objective, either team can come and break this, right? So we want to keep that in mind. The next neutral objective I want to talk about is mid-boss. And I'm actually going to have to get every gun item I have in the build here, because we're going to have to be doing quite a bit of damage to actually kill the damn thing. Let's just do that. So this is mid-boss. The mid-boss here spawns in at 10 minutes, just like the Solarin. The Solarin spawns in at 10 minutes. Again, neutral objective, either team can take advantage of this. Now, you don't really want to fight mid-boss until after the 20-minute mark. And I'll explain maybe a good time when to fight it later on, but for right now I'll just show you what it does. Now, we can't actually damage it when we're not in the pit down there, so we have to get in the pit. This will take a while, so do forgive me. So I wonder if our ultimate will make this faster. Not really. Maybe if we did Fury Trance. Well, we got a half health, so we'll be done with this soon. And as you can see, it is fighting back. It does do a respectable amount of damage. But normally, you would never fight this by yourself. Your team would be here helping you. At least one other person, preferably 3 of you, would be fighting this thing, even more. Alright, now when you destroy it, you get souls, I believe. And then this thing comes down. This is the Rejuvenator. And you have to use your heavy melee attack to break it. You break it 3 times. And if you look at the top of the map, the top of my HUD, you see those like little yellow angel symbols coming up. How the Rejuvenator works is the first 3 people to die on your team will gain an extra life. So if I died right now, I would consume one of our Rejuvenator charges. We have 3, right? And then I would like respawn right here, like where I died, right? And be able to fight more. But if I died again after consuming a Rejuvenator, I would stay dead. And the team would still have 2 Rejuvenators left, right? So remember that, the first 3 people to die on your team will get 1 extra life. That's how the Rejuve works. You definitely want to do mid-boss when the enemy team is down 2 or 3 enemy players. That's a good time to do mid-boss. At least in general, again, you may not want to do it depending on which of the enemy heroes are alive. Like, if it's an enemy Dynamo, that's a great example. You definitely want to be a bit more careful doing mid-boss if the enemy Dynamo is alive and he has his ultimate. But you'll learn that as you go, as you play more. But when you have the Rejuvenator, that is a good time to start attacking the enemy, right? You want to group up and you want to force team fights, right, with your team, and you want to be killing them and taking their objectives, right? And preferably destroying base objectives, right, like the base guardians and preferably the shrines at the very least. The last neutral objective I want to talk about is, of course, the Sinner's Sacrifice. I mentioned this earlier when we were in the sandbox mode. Again, either team can take advantage of these, and I'll just demonstrate how you use it again. You punch it. You can do light melees as well, but remember, every time you punch it, it hurts you. So you want to do heavy melees. After 4 heavy melees, it will go in the gambling phase. I've shown this before. And that third light, you punch it, you win the gambling, you get souls, you get buffs. You'll actually see where those are on the map. There are these little icons here I'm drawing on the map. They're kind of like just a rectangle with a circle in them. Those are where the Sinner Sacrifices machines are. So you want to be doing those when they're available. These start spawning in at 8 minutes, and once they're destroyed, I believe they respawn after 8 minutes after being destroyed. It might even be 5. Again, I'm not entirely sure, so, but we're not really going into the detail about the time. I'm just kind of showing you what they are. You remember these guys? These are neutral mobs, or just neutrals. They spawn in camps like this one. This is a light camp. And you want to be doing these as often as you can as well. You know, because they give you some extra souls when you're not fighting in the lane, when you're not killing trooper waves. I'll show you what a medium camp looks like. There's one, actually, yeah, it's on the upper rope up here. There we go. So this is a medium camp. These guys are the tier 2 minion. They're a bit tougher. And then I'll show you what a tier 3 camp looks like. Usually you don't really need to bother with the tier 3 camps until much later in the game, or if you have already a lot of souls, like right now I would have an item value of 51,000 souls, right? I would be able to kill these guys pretty quickly with Haze, right? This isn't really taking that long at all. But normally it would take much longer, you know, if it's only like 10 minutes into a match. You wouldn't really want to fight the big camps. Medium camps like this one with the tier 2 minions, you could probably do that just fine. Next thing I want to talk about is boxes again. Boxes just spawn in set locations throughout the map. You want to be doing these as well. These give you souls, remember? There are some good routes for doing boxes, like down here in this part of the map. I would recommend just going into this game mode of Explorer NYC and just walking around the map and seeing where things are. There's boxes down here, but you can very quickly get all these boxes here. Like, look at all these boxes, right? There's a good amount of boxes here. And then it comes into our little mixed camp here. This is technically a tier 2 camp, just because it has these 2 tier 2 minions. Yes, unsecured souls. If you look at the bottom left, underneath where it says my item value, you'll see that number with the word unsecured next to it. Killing neutrals does give you souls, right? But it gives you unsecured souls, right? So if I died right now, I would lose all of those unsecured souls. Now, you know if you have unsecured souls if it just says unsecured underneath your item value there. But you can also look at your character. You'll notice that kind of gray orb I have on my back with the blue sparkling effects inside of it. That is my soul bag. That is literally what I would drop if I were to die right now, and it would have about 400 souls in it. It does shrink over time, so you slowly secure those souls over time. And if you do go to the shop and you buy something, it won't use the unsecured souls first, but say you have 2,000 souls and you're buying a tier 3 item which costs 3,200 souls, but you also have, say, 2,000 unsecured souls. So 2,000 souls and 2,000 unsecured souls. You would use your 2,000 secured souls first, and then you would use 1,200 of your unsecured souls. That would leave you with 800 unsecured souls left over. Oh yeah. I actually need to talk about where you spend those souls. When you gain souls, you're going to come to the curiosity shop here. When you start a match, every lane will have a shop for both teams, and they're right next to your guardian, right? But when the guardian is destroyed, this shop will close and it will no longer work. And their shop is only works for your team, right? Next to your guardian. But there are secret shops. There are 2 of them. They're represented on the minimap by kind of like a green coffin-looking shape with a little black rectangle in it. We just go in here. This is the secret shop. Not very secret if you ask me. But you can also go in here on either side of the map. Like this is technically the enemy's half of the map, but I can use the shop to buy items. This is where you spend your souls to buy items. There is also a shop in your spawn, which I will go try and demonstrate very quickly. I will say as well, I don't recommend this build. For Haze, you definitely need some more green items. But if we quickly use our speed boost to go back to our base. This whole back area where you spawn, if you die, this whole area here is a shop. So you can buy items here as well. And I did forget to mention while we were in the secret shop, I'll go show you where the other secret shop is, over here. There are teleporters. I personally don't use these very often, but they can be handy. Say you really need to quickly get to the yellow lane, because we're in the green lane right now. You can come into this teleporter here, and if you look at the minimap, it shows you where it's going to take me to. It takes me to this other half of the map. They come in... there's 2 pairs of teleporters, 1 on each side of the map. And yeah. I think... I want to talk about the next thing. If you're going to play Deadlock, I would recommend definitely coming into this game mode and just kind of walking around the map, seeing how things are. I would also recommend playing a bot match, which, again, use access from the hideout menu. We just go over here. Bot matches, you can customize this however you like. It could be a private match, or you can do online co-op. Probably not this. I would do just a normal standard match, right? Make it hard, medium, easy, whatever you feel like. Probably play on hard though. The bot AI is not very good. That will just give you a very basic understanding of how the game is played, right? Play a couple bot matches with a hero you like the look of, right? Maybe you like Mina, or maybe you like the look of Infernus, right? Just pick a hero that you like the look of, right? Or maybe these abilities sound cool, whatever it is, right? And just do a couple bot matches. Okay, so we're back in the NYC game mode, and now we're definitely going to be talking about just theory, tactics, and stuff like that, right? We're done explaining what things are. I'm going to explain kind of just a bit more about actually how you play the game and how you use the things I've discussed before. So, when you start a game, remember, you come down the zip line, and you'll be spit out here with your lane partner, and you'll be fighting 2 enemies. For the first 10 minutes of the game, around there, it can change depending on how quickly you kill the enemy guardian. For the first 10 minutes, that's the early game phase, or also called the laning phase, right? When you're just in the lane and you're doing things there. But the laning phase pretty much ends, for you at least, when you kill the enemy guardian, right? When you kill the enemy guardian, what you really want to do after that is one of a few things. Either you can just stay in the lane, right, and apply a little bit of pressure to the enemy walker, right? If it's before like 10 or 15 minutes, if it's before 15 minutes, you need someone to help you destroy the enemy walker, right? It's going to be difficult for you to do that by yourself, and someone will come. The respawn timers will be short. When you die early in a match, the respawn timer is pretty short. It'll only be like 5 or 7 seconds. But as the match goes on for longer and longer, if you die, you have to wait longer before you actually respawn and can go back out there, right? So if you're trying to push the walker at like 12 or 13 minutes by yourself, right? It doesn't matter if like the whole enemy team is dead. They're going to come back in a couple of seconds and kill you when you're pushing their walker, right? So say you've killed the enemy guardian, right? Now you're kind of in the mid-game phase, right? This lasts a bit longer. This lasts from like the 10 or 15 minute mark up to about the 25 minute mark, or even the 30 minute mark, kind of. Well, not really. In the mid-game, you're going to be kind of roaming around a little bit. You'll be coming into your lane, and you'll be clearing trooper waves as often as you can, because that's the most important thing. That is the most important thing, like, period, is if there are enemy troopers fighting your troopers, right? You want to be here, and you want to be killing those troopers, right? And that will shove your wave of troopers up their lane into their territory, right? And that's exactly what you want to be. That is how you apply pressure. And what that basically is, that creates a problem for the enemy team, and they have to go and solve it. Even though it won't take that long, and it's actually beneficial to them, because they'll kill your troopers and gain the souls for it, that takes time away from that person, right? Where they could be helping out their team elsewhere, right? But we've killed the enemy guardian, we're in mid-game, we want to be walking around. This is when we want to be doing sinners machines, we want to be clearing out the neutral camps, we want to be doing boxes, right? But we're always keeping our eye on the mini-map, right? We go and do those things for maybe 30 seconds, right? Or maybe a minute at most, right? And we want to look at our mini-map. Is there more troopers to kill? Right, we come back, we shoot enemy troopers, we shove our wave up again. Or maybe, instead of that, you want to go peel for the other lane. Peeling is just kind of backing up your allies. It's a term used in some competitive games. But say we spawned in yellow lane, we started over there, we're now in blue lane, right? So there's the two blue lane teammates here. We're going to help them now destroy their guardian, right? And maybe their guardian will fall. Or maybe we lost our green guardian, right? And now there are 3 enemy heroes here. Maybe there's even 4. Maybe it's a 4v3, right? This is the mid-game is kind of where it starts to get a little bit more chaotic. And everyone's kind of starting to do their own thing. The main thing you want to focus on in the mid-game phase is getting your items. You want to be getting souls consistently, and you want to be getting the items in your build, right? And getting those items quickly depends on good macro gameplay. Whereas micro gameplay is like what you're doing right now in the moment, and every decision matters. That's kind of when you're fighting an enemy hero, you're timing your abilities correctly, you're doing good movement. That's micro-managed gameplay. Macro-managed gameplay is just thinking about the long term. That's coming around, doing boxes, clearing out camps, you know, as much as you can, right? You want to be doing these things when you have the time for it. But don't ignore them completely either. If you have poor macro gameplay, you're not going to have that many souls, you're not going to have very good items, or just not very many items, right? And that's something that enemies can take advantage of. So it's important to have minimizing downtime, right, is really the concept you need to understand. You don't want to be standing around and doing nothing. You don't want to waste time. Like say for example, right, you need to go to the shop. You could take the zip line and go back that way, or you can maybe in the same amount of time go to the secret shop over here, right? And say you buy your items here, right? Now you are still able to go help the green or blue lane, right? You don't have to take the zip line back out, right? So that's just one concept, but you wouldn't do that if you had low health. I will mention, this is something I forgot to mention before, but I'm going to cut my health in half. If you have low health, let's just do it a few more times, right? I'm really low health, right? I'm about to die. Going in here where you spawn, you get a massive boost to your regeneration. So, say in the early game, you're about to die, right? What you can do is just back up, break line of sight with the enemies, right? Because you can be shot at when you're on the zip line, right? And if you're shot at, you fall off, you get stunned, you're stuck on the ground, and it does damage to you. So break line of sight if you're about to die. Get on the zip line and go back and heal in your spawn, right? You can do that at any point of the game. Okay, but let's say all the guardians are down, right? And a couple of walkers have been destroyed, right? This is kind of where the late game is beginning now. The late game is just all about, you have your items now, so your build is mostly completed, right? You have the items you need to do what you need to do well. So now your objectives are to finish off any enemy objectives, like any walkers, and also go for kills, because at this point where it's like 25 minutes and later, like 30 minutes or later, respawn timers are going to be a bit longer, right? So getting kills has a lot more impact in the late game. And of course, a late game after 25 minutes is when you want to be considering doing mid-boss after you kill a few of the enemy heroes. Say they make a couple of mistakes, 3 or 4 of them die. You say, let's go mid. You just click on it on the mini-map, right? When you hold tab to bring up this menu. I probably should have mentioned that much earlier, but by default, you hold tab to bring up this menu where you can like click on your abilities and whatnot. So yeah, that's late game, and then like super late game is after 35 minutes. That is just kind of all about playing around the Rejuvenator and mid-boss, right? Because the respawn timers will be very long. They'll be like longer than 60 seconds. And then you just go in, destroy the base objectives, and maybe even outright kill the patron and win the game. Right, now we need to talk about just like kind of the terms players will use, right? Like, just how players speak to each other. And I do encourage communicating with your teammates, so I'll give you like kind of the words we use to talk to each other. There's the laning phase, right? Or we're in our lane, right? Those are terms we use when we're kind of in this area. If someone is asking you to gank, or you come in, remember when I mentioned peeling earlier? Well, we can also call that ganking. That's probably the better term to use. It's called ganking. Ganking is just when you're coming into a team fight and you're helping the team fight, right? And the team fight is obviously when you have, say, maybe 3 or 4 people fighting on your side, and there's 3 or 4 people fighting on their side, right? That's a big fight. There's a lot of people present, and a lot of abilities are going after that. That is a team fight. If someone's asking you to push a lane or shove a lane, what they're asking you to do is, like, we'll go to yellow, for example. Maybe our Guardian's destroyed here, and the enemy troopers have walked up to our walker. Don't ignore the troopers by themselves, right? Even though they're individually pretty weak, if there's like 6 or 7 of them or more, they will stack up here and they will be shooting your walker. They will eventually destroy the walker, right? Because remember, they take less damage from objectives than heroes do. So you'll have to come here, you shove the wave, or push the lane by killing those troopers. You'll be going up, and maybe you see the next wave of troopers coming in on the zip line. You can shoot them off, right? Shoot them down, and that forces them to fall off. Then you would kill the troopers down here, right? And then you're pushing the lane forward. You're creating pressure on this lane, right? Because that, again, remember how I said earlier, that will create a problem for the enemy team. But like I'll say this as well as a word of advice. Past 20 minutes, really, or just in general, you don't want to go beyond this side of the map by yourself, right? Because when you're entering their territory, remember, they can use the zipline to get to you very quickly. It's just, enemies could collapse on your position very quickly, and you could die just very quickly without any warning, really. But same, if enemies are by themselves in your side of the map, tell your teammates, hey, let's get this guy, right? Let's kill him. And hopefully someone will come over, and you punish them for being in the wrong area at the wrong time without any help. I need to talk about what the jungle is. If you've never played a MOBA before, the jungle just is everywhere that is outside of the lane. So right now I'm in the jungle. Like, the jungle is just, if you look at the minimap, it's kind of just this area on the map. This is all jungle, really. And then the lanes are, you know, actually the lanes, right? That's the lane, right? So if someone says they're farming in the jungle, or they're in the jungle, that just means they're not in the lane with you. However, if you are in the jungle, you are in a pretty good spot. You don't want to spend too much time here because, again, you get the most souls by killing troopers in the lane. But like when I'm here, I can go help the blue lane pretty quickly, but I can also go help the yellow lane pretty quickly. So you can come into the jungle, do a bit of work here, and then you can decide which lane you want to help. Usually whichever lane you came from is the one you're going to go back to, unless someone really needs your help or you see an opportunity to punish people for being too far into your territory. Next thing I want to talk about is maybe just some heroes you could start playing with. This is Rem. I think Rem's okay to start playing with. He's not too complicated. But I won't really discuss him in too much detail. His 1 is a little pillow tossed. That just does damage to everyone in the area of effect. His 2 is tag along. Basically, you would target a friendly hero. If I spawn a friendly hero here, Friendly Infernus, he's taking a bit of damage. We can latch onto him and heal him. And we can then just leave him like that. Our little helpers, our 3rd ability. If we assign that to a hero, he gains movement speed, so he runs faster, and he gains spirit resistance. If we assign our little helper to a trooper, that trooper will receive healing, a lot of damage resistance, and actually the little helper will do a little attack, like a little laser beam, when they are following a trooper around. Your ultimate's pretty easy to use. Like I'll demonstrate how it works on an enemy bot. We'll just go outside our base here real quickly. I won't go into this too much detail with all the heroes I recommend. But basically, you put someone to sleep. They can't do anything. They can like limp around slowly, right? But then they'll wake up and take a bit of damage, right? That's just good for you have to call out who you've put to sleep, you know, or how many you've put to sleep, and your teammates will come in and they'll maybe punch them to wake them up, right? Something like that. Kind of more rapid fire now. Heroes I would recommend, I would probably recommend, if people have already played the game, they're not going to like this, but I would recommend Haze. Haze is pretty simple, right? But like, just because she's simple doesn't mean you can kind of turn your brain off, right? Like, at least when you're first starting to play the game, you need to be careful. All you have to do with Haze, really, is shoot people. Her third ability, the more you shoot people, it gives him a debuff where the next bullet will do more damage. If I keep shooting him, you'll actually see those numbers are going up. 12s, 13s, 14s even, right? So, Haze is pretty simple. Her 1 just sets you up to start shooting someone. Your smoke bomb will help you disengage. If you upgrade it, it gives you a speed boost. This is good for moving to a different part of the map. But of course, I really recommend Haze because of her 4th ability. If you pair this with these certain items, like this build is terrible. Don't ever use this. But if you pair this ability with Unstoppable, you use it. You use Unstoppable, and that's it. Anyone in that area of effect is gonna have a really bad day. You pair that with other items as well that increase your weapon damage. It's gonna be very good. I guess I could recommend Dynamo. I like Dynamo. Dynamo is just one of the characters easy to understand but really hard to master. Dynamo has probably the most game-altering ultimate in the game, and it has a respectively long cooldown. That is probably one of the longest cooldowns. I think that is the longest cooldown in the game for Singularity. Basically because if you max the range on that, right, say I get greater expansion as well, maybe a bit of duration. This is how I would build. I think this build with Dino is okay. You don't need Trophy Collector. But your ultimate, anyone in that area is probably going to die if you have backup. You never do Singularity when you're by yourself. But if you know there's 2 or 3 people with you helping you, you do Singularity on maybe 2 or 3 enemies, right? They're probably just gonna die, right? Because it's a very good ultimate. The damage on his 1, the Kinetic Pulse or the Stomp, is also very good. You can increase that with items like Tank Buster and Boundless Spirit. You can get this to be doing a lot of damage, and if you upgrade it all the way, it also has a lot of range, right? Like I can hit him from all the way over there. And look how much damage that does, right? That's pretty good. Quantum Entanglement is great. It's a movement ability, right? Now when you're teleporting, you're invincible, right? But not only can you teleport yourself, if we go back and spawn to our friendly bot, I'm going to turn no cooldown on. If you do the alternate casting, for it, like it says bring allies there with middle mouse click, I can take him with me, right? And maybe this will be good because I can get him to safety, right? Like, say there's an enemy right there, and he's, like, about to die. I save him. I get him in spawn. He's healing now. This saves his life, right? Or maybe I can heal him. Your healing at the beginning will not be very good, but if you invest into this, right? If you invest into making Dynamo more of a support, right? And less of a carry, you can do a lot of healing, like quite a lot of healing with his 3rd ability. Same goes for Kelvin. Kelvin's a good support. He's also flexible like Dynamo. I would say he's hybrid. You can definitely get a lot of damage with his 3. I'm not going to really showcase him that much, but he's a good hero to pick. I do like Lash. Lash is very fun. He's very charismatic indeed. Basically, Lash's whole idea is he is burst damage, right? Like I can go demonstrate on the bot outside. The purpose of Lash is to get really high in the air, right? Like really high and slam down, right? That's the idea. That's his kit. So you would like go as high as you can, right? Because Stomp does more damage the more you fall, from the more distance you cover, right? The ground strike. Flog will heal you for every enemy it hits. And then the grapple. The grapple requires a target, right? It can't be just a wall or anything. It has to be a player, or maybe it's a trooper, or maybe it's an objective, right? But that's how you use your grapple, right? And of course there's Death Slam. Death Slam is very fun. Let me like get a bit of height here. You grab onto him and you throw him down and you slam him. And you do the flog as well. That's your burst damage combo. And if you like that gameplay I showed at the very beginning of this video with Lash, I can actually show you how to like execute that, right? Like that's in my gameplay. You slam down, flog, and then you get out, right? You wait for your cooldowns to come back, right? You wait for all of this to refresh, and then you just do it again. So Lash is good. I don't play Mina. I've actually never played Mina, but she is fairly easy to understand. Basically with Mina, all you have to do is when you shoot an enemy, her third will activate, her third ability, where it does a burst of damage, right? But then it goes on cooldown. You can see I can't activate it again on her. But what makes her so strong is her 2, I feel like, right? Her 2 is basically a get of jail free card, right? If you do that correctly, you can cover a lot of distance if you invest in that, and if you take one item specifically. This is kind of late game, like this is kind of like higher rank stuff. Like when people are smarter and they know how to fight you, they will take items that prevent you from using your get out of jail free card. So you'll have to use Dispel Magic, and then you can use it, right? But that's probably not very good advice to be giving the new players, but Mina's a good pick. I don't play her myself. I don't like the character. I did mention Rem's good. I like 7. 7 also is just very charismatic. I think he's just a very interesting, cool character, right? His whole deal is just area denial, and he is definitely the king at doing that, right? You can upgrade his lightning ball to be very large, and it does a lot of damage, right? His 2 is good as well, especially when you increase the range of that, because anyone standing in here will also get stunned, right? Power, you can build into Power Surge. You can make that really good, because that's like that will go to other targets. Let me demonstrate that, and I'll just activate it again. You can see it shocks those other targets, so that can be good. But of course, his ultimate is again one of the strongest in the game. You need to pair this with the right items. Like you would also take Unstoppable with 7. I actually do have it here. Unlike Haze, though, you have to use the item before you go into your ultimate, because you can't use items in 7's ultimate. So you do Unstoppable, Stormcloud. Alright. Very, very strong ultimate. You increase the range of that, and you're going to be definitely cooking. As far as other recommendations go, probably Wraith. Wraith is a bit similar to Haze, where Wraith is like Haze if she was properly hybrid, whereas like Haze is definitely like you're gonna be building into your gun every single time you want to increase your weapon damage. With Wraith, you actually have the option of like, do you want to make your gun really strong, or do you want to make your abilities really strong, or do you want to do a little both? Most people probably do a little bit of both, right? You damage enemies, right? You gain you'll gain cards. You throw the cards. The cards have various effects. You also get a get out of jail free card. It's very similar to Mina's, maybe even a little better than Mina's. I think Mina's is a little bit better, a bit more flexible. Her 3 is really good. This gives you quite a pretty big boost to your damage. Her ultimate may not seem that flashy, but it is pretty strong. Like, you can definitely move someone out of position, and then they're gonna be in a really bad spot. So Wraith's good. I did main Viscous for a while. Viscous is fun. It's probably a little bit complicated. His one is simple enough, that does damage, right? But then, his cube, his second ability, you can use this to save people. Again, remember with like Dynamo's Quantum Entanglement, his teleport. This can be a very clutch save ability. Say he's about to die, I put him in the cube. He's immune to all damage while in the cube. He gets a little bit of health back, right? But then we compare this with Puddle Punch, right? This is where things get interesting, because Puddle Punch can move you around, but as well as your allies. So we can do things like this. We put him in the cube, and then we punch the cube, and we can move the cube. I'm not doing a very good job showcasing that, but we can do that, right? You can also do it to yourself. We set up the punch first, then cube, right? You can move while invincible. Goo Ball is not a very strong ultimate, I think. I use this a lot to run away, and you'll see plenty of Viscuses use it to run away, because you become much harder to kill while in the Goo Ball. But you can use it offensively. This is good to be disruptive in a team fight. Like, you wouldn't solo ult someone, really. You would use this when you can hit multiple targets. And there's a variety of builds. You can go support Viscous, where you max out the cube and you try and save people. You can go Spirit Viscous, where you damage people with your 1 and your Goo Ball. Or you can do what I do, which is Punch Viscous, where it's all about maxing out that Puddle Punch, right? And you kind of increase your gun damage by doing that as well. And you just punch people all day. They can parry the punch though, right? Like if I was an enemy, they can parry the Puddle Punch, so you can keep that in mind. But I think it's all about, I would recommend really, as far as like easy characters go. Yeah, I don't think I'd really recommend anyone else. Maybe Bebop. I think Bebop is actually not bad. People definitely don't like Bebop on like higher ranks, because well, actually no, people don't like Bebop in lower ranks. So if you wanna pick a hero to annoy people when you first start playing, definitely do Bebop. His description is very simple. It is hook, bomb, punch, and you do exactly that. You use your hook, you do sticky bomb, and then you punch them back into their team, and something like that happens. Now every time you attach a bomb to a hero, actually every time the bomb damages an enemy hero, it increases the damage of sticky bomb permanently, and it does even more damage if it kills someone, right? We'll do that maybe 1 or 2 more times. So that sticky bomb, and the next sticky bomb is going to do even more damage, right? So Bebop's good. His ultimate is not bad. It's similar to, kind of similar to Seven's. It's just more focused. Good area denial. Like, people will run away from this. Like, maybe they run in there, and you just lock it down. It's probably better to use this defensively. But you want to be in the air while you do it, right? You don't want to really be on the ground if you can help it. Because you're pretty vulnerable when you're doing this, right? You don't get any extra defense doing this. If you max it out, you get a bit of lifesteal, and that's it. I think that about wraps up the characters here, as I would recommend, though. I wasn't quite finished with the previous segment about like theory crafting and stuff like that. I wanted to talk a little bit more about items. So we're back in the hideout, and we're kind of going in this little sandbox area here. Something I forgot to mention early on when I was talking about statistics, which is probably important to keep track of, is investments. Simply owning items of a certain category, like say I got these 2 bullet items here, right? These 2 gun items. Simply by owning them, this little gauge here in the bottom left will fill up, right? Depending on what threshold I meet, right? So right now, I'm at the 4th level of this gauge, right? That is the 3.2 thousand investment, because this item is worth 3.2 thousand souls. And now by simply having that much souls invested into my weapon now does 20% more damage, right? And now the important investment gauge level to keep track of here for all of these stats is the 4.8k investment. You can reach that by mixing a tier 3 item with a tier 2 item, or 3 2-tier items, or 6 tier 1 items. You can mix it up however much you like. A single tier 4 item will be more than enough to reach that 4.8k investment. But if I take these two gun items here, I reach that 4.8k investment. And what that basically is it's giving you the largest boost in effectiveness to that category, that statistic, with the minimum amount of souls invested, right? And with Dynamo here, that's precisely the logic I'm using here, right? I get 50% more damage. Basically, it's 49% more damage. But I get that from only having 2 gun items, right? And that's it. I don't want to invest any more into my gun, right? Basically, the logic here is I don't want my gun to be a pea shooter, and I don't want it to do, like, no damage, right? But it's not important that I'm doing all of my damage with my gun, right? And most of my damage with Dynamo is going to be coming from my first ability, my Stomp, right? So I have a lot of spirit items, right? Because I want to focus on that the most, right? But when that is on cooldown, or maybe they're in midair, I just, for whatever reason, I can't use this, right? Or I've already used it. I want my gun to be able to, finish off an enemy, right? So that is why I go for these items, right? I do the bare minimum needed to make sure the gun would still perform adequately, right? It's not going to be crazy good, but it's going to be 50% better, right? Which is considerable. That's a considerable increase than if I didn't have these items, right? So that is something to keep track of, and we can look at that for our health stat. The 4.8k investment there gives you a 34% increase to your maximum health. Your spirit power investment as well. Like, these are good things to keep track of. So, but moving on from the investments, like, we can actually think about what items we want to take for our hero, right? Dynamo here is like a hybrid. He's a hybrid between a carry and a support. At least he is, in my opinion. Some people would say he is just more support oriented. I definitely think he's a hybrid. He can carry, he can support, he can do both just fine, is what I believe. But if we look at his abilities here, right, let's actually think about what items we want to take. Well, first of all of these abilities have a radius, right, or a range of some sort, right? And we can then ask the question, would having more range benefit us, right? And well, the answer is just yes, right? I'm going to tell you the answer for the purpose of this video, because getting more range would increase the effectiveness of all 4 of our abilities, right? Whereas, like, say, getting more damage, right, getting more spirit power from, like, Boundless Spirit, that's only going to increase the effectiveness of our 1, our 3, and our 4. It doesn't do anything on our teleport, our quantum entanglement, right? So, in general, I guess, as a very basic rule of thumb, right, that you can kind of ignore when the more you play and the smarter you get, right, is getting an item, right, or items that boost your entire kit, right, either your weapon, your abilities, or both, right, is probably an item you want to be taking, right? So getting range on Dynamo is great because it makes it harder to escape the black hole. It makes it easier to catch people with it. You can heal more teammates when they're moving around you, because you can never expect them to stand still, really, when you're trying to heal them. So it's good to have more range on this. Having more range on your quantum entanglement is great, because that can help you get away from danger or save people more easily. And having more range on the Stomp, the kinetic pulse, is great, because that makes this move safer. If you do it from further away and still hit someone, it makes it safer to use this. You don't have to get so close to them. So getting range on Dynamo is great. Again, like, we have a really long cooldown on our ultimate. Well, we should probably look at taking items that reduce our cooldown, like superior cooldown and compressed cooldown, right? These are things that are great. So we can think about how items synergize with our abilities or our weapon, but we can also think about how items synergize with each other. A lot of Dynamos like to take this item here called Refresher, right? It resets the cooldown of all your abilities, right? And you can see it has a massive cooldown of 300 seconds, right? That is the longest cooldown in the game for anything, any item or any ability. But what if we didn't want to wait 300 seconds? Well, there's this item here, which is an upgrade from superior cooldown. So I'll explain upgrades in a minute. That's something else I forgot to mention, I believe, in my item segment. So I'll explain how upgrades work in a second. But superior cooldown only reduces the cooldown of your abilities, but transcendent cooldown reduces the cooldown of your abilities and your items, right? So if I take refresher here, it says 300-second cooldown. But then if I get transcendent cooldown, you can see it's been shortened by 75 seconds. That is a massive reduction in the time we have to wait to use this, right? And it benefits Black Hole. Black Hole went from being a 230-second cooldown to 172 seconds. That's like 60 seconds. That's 1 minute of less waiting for this, basically. So getting cooldown on Dynamo is good, I believe. And we can also see how it affects other items as well, right? And I'll briefly explain how upgrades work. We'll take a basic example like expansion here. So we have Mystic Expansion. I'm going to put that on my Black Hole, right? And this is worth 800 souls, okay? And now I have the option here to upgrade Mystic Expansion into Greater Expansion, right? So I will lose Mystic Expansion, and it will become Greater Expansion, right? Now, Greater Expansion is a Tier 3 item, and normally that would cost 3,200 souls, like Tank Buster here, right? But because I own Mystic Expansion, which is it's not a prerequisite. I can sell this and go straight into Greater Expansion, right? And you'll see how it says owned here, so it's used as a component, is what it is. If I invest 800 into this, right? That's 800 that is being added to the upgrade, right? Like so. Some items have more than one upgrade. Like compressed cooldown can be upgraded into superior cooldown, or you can go straight into transcendent, or you can go into superior cooldown and then into transcendent cooldown, right? And you're preserving that value. You're not wasting any souls this way, right? So you definitely, I would say half maybe of the items in your build should be upgradable, right? Because that's just efficiency in your souls. It all depends on how good of a player you are. It depends on how many souls you're getting. If you're consistently getting a lot of souls in your game, right? You are in the top 2 players on your team with the most souls, then you probably don't really need to rely on upgrade paths as much. Like, these are still great items, right? Even despite the upgrades, right? But having an upgrade path just makes that much more flexible, because you can gain the smaller benefits sooner, right? I can compress the cooldown of just Black Hole to begin with, right? Which we want, because it's the longest cooldown, right? And then I can get cooldown on all my abilities. So that's something to think about, right? How, like, what items does your character benefit the most from, right? Again, like, let's take Haze as a good example.
They won't see me coming.
As you can see here in my build, which is terrible, please do not copy this. You will not get very far with this at all. There's some things here that are common, but like I'm missing Unstoppable, which is important to Haze. Like, a lot of these items are gun items, right? Because Haze does not benefit very greatly from spirit items, right? Now, there are some items, right, like Focus Lens here, right? Even though it's not a gun item, the effects of this item, right, would greatly complement Haze's playstyle, right? I'll just demonstrate how this works, right? I'm shooting someone, he's not dying that quickly though, right? Or maybe it's a lash, right? And he's flying around the place with his grapple, right? And I don't want to get ground strike, so I'm going to use Focus Lens on him, which will silence him. Silencing is a debuff that prevents people from using their abilities. And then whatever damage I do now is a little, like, burst, right? So that's how Focus Lens works. This would greatly complement Haze, because she can do... Or Calico is another good example. Any burst hero, really, as Focus Lens would be great on. Because the more damage you do, right, it means the more damage Focus Lens will do when it expires. So, even though Focus Lens is a spirit item, we can get good value out of that on a gun hero like Haze. So, this will take time to understand, right? Like, you will think about what is or what isn't good on your character, right? Some things are stronger than others, right? Like like Toxic Bullocks is just kind of meta right now for all gun heroes. It is pretty good. And what else do I want to discuss, really? I want to discuss how you view other builds. I'm going to swap back to Dynamo. So, I think I briefly mentioned quite a while ago when I first introduced items that you can have a build, right? And you can edit your build. I'll go into a little more detail here. You have categories. You can add categories by clicking the button up here, and it adds a whole row. When the row is highlighted with these white dotted lines, all you have to do to add items to it is go into a category, click on what you want, and then it will appear here, and you can drag it around to other categories. You can drag categories around. All right, you can make them smaller. You can make it pretty, right, if you're interested in doing that. But what I want to show you now is when you're first starting the game, you may be interested, you may not understand items that well, it'll be a bit complicated. So what you may want to do is go to the build browser, right? And you would want to go to public, right? Or you can just use the default Valve builds, right? I didn't know there was two, I thought there was only one. But if you go to public builds, right? You can view all of these, right? And you're going to use selected build, right? And now you're using a different build, right? These, some of these are better than others, right? These are just different people online that have come up with different builds for Dynamo, right? And you can even see the way in which you should upgrade your ability, which order you should upgrade your abilities might change a little bit, right? So you can choose any of these. So we could look at this one here. This one's very simple, right? This might be a left to right build. In fact, this is definitely a meme build, right? This is Gun Dynamo. I don't think this is very wise. I wouldn't recommend something like this. Very funny. But on the topic of left to right, something we can do if we go back to my Dynamo build here, right? With a simple early game, mid game, late game organization like this, right? What you can do is if we click on quick buy up in the top left here. If we have auto queue and auto buy on, I know it's kind of faded for some reason, right? Now, I really only recommend this if you struggle to, like, actively go to the shop, open the shop, and buy items. If you feel like you're wasting too much time there, what you can do is, I can't really demonstrate it here in the Hideout or even in Sandbox, but what it is basically is, say you have the auto queued, right? Like, so wait for me to queue build, right? I have this auto queued now. But like when I start a match, it will automatically take the leftmost item in the topmost category and add it to the queue. Then once I get 800 souls and I walk within range of the shop, right? The game will automatically, without me doing anything, I don't have to open the menu, I will get extra charge, right? It'll just say item purchased, right? And it will keep doing that as long as you have the souls. And it will even automatically imbue the right thing as long as you have a suggested imbue option, right? It will do all of this automatically. It'll upgrade automatically. It'll go from left to right, then it goes to the next category, and it goes from left to right again, right? That's what it does. So that's a left to right build. You can do really only do this if you struggle to just manage your items really, and like go to the shop and buy them manually, right? I did that in the early game, like when I first started playing Deadlock. I just relied very heavily on auto buy. It's not a terrible feature. There are plenty of left to right builds that you can use auto buy with that are perfectly fine, perfectly viable. But as you climb ranks, and fight smarter opponents, right? You want to be a bit more flexible with your build. You want to be able to take counter items. You know what? That's actually something we should talk about, right? And we're actually going to go into the sandbox for that. I'll talk very briefly about counter buying because you won't need to worry too much about this in lower ranks when you first start playing. But I'm going to spawn an enemy in Furnace, right? And now what I'm actually going to do is make him puppet my action, so he's mirroring me. Well, he should be. Make mimic. clear follow, mimic. Okay, so now he's mimicking me, right? And now we're gonna max out his 3. His 3 is afterburn, right? So I want you to watch out. He's gonna shoot me, right? And he sets you on fire, right? This is what he does, right? Now, Infernus's afterburn is a very dangerous late game, right? He can make this very strong, right? So, but it's a debuff, right? And that afterburn he inflicts on you is a debuff. So, what we should do is consider ways we can mitigate that debuff, right? And the most obvious way is with this item here, Dispel Magic. If their Infernus has a lot of souls, he's killing people left, right, and center, he's a big problem, he's a very threatening, you want to counter by him. And this will come with experience as you play the game, but I'll give this to you, this knowledge to you freely. Dispel Magic is a decent counter against Infernus, because basically what you do is you wait until he sets you on fire, like so, and then you use Dispel Magic, and it immediately cleanses that on fire debuff, right? But remember, he can set you back on fire, right? So, and this is on cooldown now, so you want to be able to disengage, right? Like ideally, what would happen is I would get set on fire, right? Okay, right, I need to leave, right? Then I use Dispel Magic and I keep leaving, right? Something like that. There are other options, right? Like, it's not only Dispel Magic. An expensive option is Plated Armor. I don't really like this item, but it does work. It now takes him much longer to build that debuff up on me, and he can't maintain it as easily. It's much harder for him to maintain that. And of course there's like Debuff Reducer and its upgrades. They both have the same effects as Debuff Reducer. So I could just take Spellbreaker here. And you'll notice the time at which I'm afflicted for that is technically shorter. It may not feel like it, but it is. And the burning does spirit damage, so we could just take Spirit Resilience. And that will reduce the damage we take from Afterburn. That's one way to counter Infernus, right? And again, like, maybe it's not an Infernus you're countering, right? Maybe you're trying to counter a, let's spawn in a Haze, for example.
I am the bright light's dark shadow.
Haze is another problematic hero in early ranked. Haze is just a strong hero in general. I don't like this hero. But we'll spawn her as an enemy. We'll make her mimic me, right? Let me actually unupgrade my thing and then re-upgrade it. Right. That should be... Okay, yeah, that is fully maxed out. So she also applies a debuff, right? But she just does a lot of gun damage, right? Okay, like her 1 is not that annoying. That's not very important, right? I'm really worried about her guns and her ultimate ability, right? And they both do bullet damage, right? And a lot of hazes will not have a way to defeat this. It's Metal Skin, right? Metal Skin makes you immune to bullets for 5 seconds, right? So if this haze is really problematic, Metal Skin, and now I'm not taking like any damage at all. Right? Let's just put no cooldown on. Yep, I'm totally fine. Right. Now, because Fixation does do a little bit of spirit damage is why I'm still taking damage. But if I didn't have Metal Skin, I definitely would have died here. So, again, counter buying like this is something you will learn with experience, right? But just really analyze how the enemy hero is doing their damage, right? How are they killing you, right? Is it Infernus's Afterburn, or maybe it's a hero like Lash, who just does a bunch of spirit damage in a very short time, very bursty spirit damage, right? Something like Spellbreaker would help you against that. Or just spirit resistance. So that's counter buying. And for the most part, this is kind of where the video is going to end. There are a couple other things I just want to touch up on, like just to put your like mental fortitude in the right place, right? Like you want to have a good mental game, because MOBAs, one match of a MOBA will be like around 40 minutes, right? It's not really a short game. It can take a while for the match to end. They can go up to like an hour or even longer in some very rare circumstances. So I think the biggest just piece of advice I could give in general is be patient. You know, if you die, right, it's not over. Especially if you if you die like 10 times before the 15-minute mark, it is okay. That is, you can absolutely come back from that, and you can still win the game, right? A lot of people get frustrated very quickly when they die multiple times, you know, early in the game. If you start dying a lot, you know, past 20 minutes, then you need to really reconsider your strategy. But dying in the early game isn't really a big deal, because again, remember those respawn timers are pretty short. But every time you do die, you know, or every time you do feel like you make a mistake, you know, be analytical. Like, what should have I done differently, right? Maybe this Infernus sets me on fire, right? And I'm running away, but I burn to death, right? That means I need to take Dispel Magic, right? That's what I would think, right? Or if I can't afford Dispel Magic, I need to play around corners much more, right? I need to be very careful and manage that debuff, right? I need to make sure I'm breaking line of sight with that Infernus, right? As much as I can. So that's my advice I give there. And the last thing I want to mention is one extra setting. If you're really into competitive video games, you know, or if you've played a MOBA before, there is an option in the settings called Extra Competitive under Matchmaking. I don't have this on, but if you want to be surrounded by people who take the game maybe a bit more seriously and a little less casually, you're not a fan of goofy teammates, you may want to turn that on. I don't prefer to play that with on. That's my personal preference. But I believe that finally concludes the video. Again, it's not an exhaustive list of everything I could recommend, advise on, or tell you what to do. But I hope this has been comprehensive. And I hope you can, you know, after a few bot matches, actually get into a real game and, you know, tear shit up, you know, and have fun doing it. Because that's why I play the game, you know. I think it's a lot of fun. I don't play just to win, you know. It's definitely fun to do, you know, clutch plays, you know. And get out of sticky situations even if we lose. That's why I'm here. Again, if you would like to see how, like, my thought process is when I'm playing the game and the decisions I take, if you want to see that happen, that last gameplay at the beginning of the video, again, that is a full video, and we do win that game. So if you would like to see me commentate that match, I can post that as a separate video. And you can kind of get inside the mind of you know, just a more average Deadlock player, because I'm an average rank. I'm Archon 2, which is very, very slightly above average for most players, as far as I understand. But thanks again for watching, and have a good one. Peace.